Q is an interview-based podcast connecting listeners with musicians, writers, producers, etc. through curated playlists. This is Next in the Queue.
Hello, and welcome to Next in the Queue. Today I'm joined with Micah Preite, a composer and songwriter from Los Angeles. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking me. Super stoked.
Yeah, so what got you into playing music in the first place?
My dad plays guitar. There definitely was a lot of music in the house, and my parents had a lot of musician friends that would come over, and my grandpa played music, and I think it was just around a lot. And parents got me a guitar, and just kind of became the guitar kid a little bit, and just became my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you did an interview with texting interviews.
Oh yeah.
In that picture, there's like a lot of instruments, so many different instruments in it. So like guitar is your main instrument, but like what other instruments do you play, and like how did you get into playing so many instruments?
Well, yeah, I would say publicly I play guitar, but it's like when I'm home, I also did do classical upright bass in middle school and high school in the orchestra, and also some of the big band jazz stuff. And then like I also I have like some keyboards and stuff, but like for like my own music, like that's like on Spotify and all that. That I just record all the instruments. I just kind of do it all by myself. But like that one, like I have like drums and woodwinds and clarinet and flute, and but like a lot of those ones, it's more just like I don't like study. I don't really know how to play them in the way I know how to play guitar. It's like it's not. I didn't really study them in super, but they're just kind of like more like I think of them almost more like a sound machine than anything, or like become very good at editing in the computer. And like, it's like I can like on the flute, sometimes I'll like Google like how to play a B flat and E flat, and then I'll hit, record and then get those two notes, and then I'll like hit pause and then find, okay, how do I do a G and a C, and then I'll hit those and then I'll put them together. Like, so just like you can kind of do a lot of like computer magic or whatever too with stuff. And it's just fun to like play instruments you don't really know, but there's different ones.
So you like publicly you said you play guitar, and then like you grew up playing classical bass, but with these other instruments that you're like using in your music, do you think not having like strict guidelines of like growing up musically, like having to stick to rules, like there's certain rules like when you're playing a bass or when you're playing guitar, but like with the other instruments that you're not trained in, do you think not being trained is helpful, because like then you can like break rules that normally people that are trained in these instruments wouldn't break? I know that was a convoluted question.
I think so. I think what happens like when you do those other instruments, like it kind of takes you away from, it's like your identity isn't that I'm not a clarinet player, like, or you know what I mean? Like when I think of myself, I am like a guitar player. So it's like your kind of ego's out of it, I think, a little bit. When you like go to these instruments, you have no you don't really have that studious background of practicing scales or whatever, like doing, where it's like you're just trying to make good music, and it just so you're thinking, I think you almost think of it more like a composer or something, like where it's just like you're like just trying to make the song good, or it's like more like a sounds than they're like, oh, this has to be the most amazing clarinet flute part or whatever, or like drum part or something. You're just like, I just want to make the song sound good. So and so it's like sometimes like coming up with a guitar part can almost sometimes be the hardest thing, just because I feel like it represents me more than
Mhm.
like my drumming, or but I think over time I start to realize like actually it is your personality that comes through every instrument, even if you don't have a long extension, like this long connection of practicing or whatever with that instrument, or but
Mhm.
it still comes through. I think even if like I don't really know how to play drums, but it's like I still, the way my personality is, it sounds like what comes through when I'm playing the drums, or like on my songs, or you're kind of almost like, I guess, just trying to create the song or whatever. But I don't know. It's definitely a lot of fun though. Like when you're like kind of just like trying to figure it out where you're going with it, or like just kind of new territory, I guess, or whatnot.
Mhm. And so when you're rehearsing or practicing for a live show and like you have other people
Mhm.
joining you, how does that process work? Because like everything prior to that has been done by yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. It's like, well, it's I started, I have, it's probably been about, it's almost been about a year. Once was when I had my first show ever with my own music and like ever singing publicly,
Mhm.
like about a year ago. Before that, I've always just been just a guitar player
Mhm.
playing jazz or in bands and stuff. So it's gone. I've gone through different stages, and it's also been a lot of different friends have played with me too, just from people are busy, um, but usually how we've done it in the past, I'll write out things in sheet music, and
Mhm.
then I'll give them like I'll do like a little demo of the song, and then I'll give them the recording of it, and then I'll also like write out their parts and stuff, and kind of like give them a thing or whatever. Like sometimes it could be pretty, like I'll have like little like bass parts written out, and then sometimes it'll be more just like here's some basic chords. Um, so it could kind of be, just really depends on the song, like how specific I want them to be with it, or
Yeah.
but and I think that just kind of mostly comes through from jazz, like playing jazz, where you don't really a lot of times have a lot of time to rehearse. So it's like sometimes we'll be like, or just write it out on sheet music, because we don't. It's just a kind of a quick way to learn this music together, and like, so if you're like, oh, we only have one rehearsal and we have to put all this like music together, these 8 songs, like having it written out is really helpful for that. And
Yeah. And do you find like when you're rehearsing with other people, do they like add their own spin to it, or do you like strictly like it being played how you originally have seen it?
I think so. I hope so. It's like, I think definitely the musicians I choose or ask to play with me, it's usually it's more like I want that person to be playing with me than the actual instrument. It's like, oh, I want my friend Cole to play with me because I love Cole, and it's like it's mostly about their personality and just
Mhm.
being a friend than it is just their instrument. But I hope so. But I definitely do have a kind of a clear vision, I think, when it comes to that. But you also don't want to put like handcuffs on everyone too,
Yeah.
and that's definitely something I've been learning this year, just becoming more in that role of being like a band leader, and which is still something new to me. So it's like kind of figuring out how I just how to teach people, and like how to just show people your own music, and how to make the best as a group.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. And like talking about you creating all this music by yourself, do you ever think about collaborating with other people?
yeah, definitely. I have for like on other people's music before. I've done like producing and stuff a little bit, and like or just like playing guitar on stuff, and like that's fun. I had just did some stuff for my friend Diego on his album, and it's like mostly like beats and stuff, and like I'll just like kind of add guitar stuff. But I've done for some of my music. We once tried to do like add drums and bass, like redo the drums and bass, and it was cool. It just was not it just kind of like changed the tone of my or like the vibe of the music, and just wasn't fitting right. So I think if I was to like have other people collaborate like on that like process, it would be nice to have like maybe people come in a little earlier in the process, or like it's like, oh, we're gonna do an album where we play live together as a band. Versus sometimes like when you're like working on a song and like you're just so deep in it by yourself for so long, it's pretty hard to like bring in other people, or like it just completely changes the direction of it and can just sometimes just not. And I don't even think it is just like demoitis or whatever people say, like where you get so attached to it. I think it just like it'll just change it, and sometimes it'll just lose what already is good about it or something, you know. And but I don't know. I want to experiment more though with bringing other, because you know it's like I have so many amazing musician friends yeah, that definitely, I think that'll be in the future for sure, bringing more people in.
And how was playing your first show like almost a year ago, you said?
Yeah. It was great. It was like really fun. That show I had a drummer, Elias, and then friend Cole played bass, and then my friend Milo played keyboards, and it was really, as far as the first show goes, yeah, it was good. No, you know, didn't forget the lyrics, and you know, sang almost pretty much in tune for the most part, and yeah, it was fun.
And then you post a lot of like snippets of songs that you're working on TikTok and things like that. What's your songwriting process like? And like, actually, let's just go with that first, and then I'll ask a follow-up question.
The songwriting process? Oh, lately I've just been trying to write a lot, and just like, you know, I guess it's changed. You know, I guess before I was doing mostly the songwriter type vibes. It's like mostly doing like a lot of like electronic music in Ableton when I was in school, and that was like mostly like writing music in the computer and the software and stuff. And then I started trying to just like write a song with just like an acoustic guitar, and just like make sure and like try to like get it working with just one instrument or like on a piano or something, and where I could just like sit there as a solo performance and it can feel like a complete song. And I think that's like where I'm kind of more at right now. And then now I'm starting to kind of blend in the two of like now also doing the production stuff, being part of the songwriting too. But I guess right now it's just kind of a lot of times I'll just write the song and then I'll record it. And like some of the songs like that, there's that song Kids Driving the Elevator where I wrote it and recorded it in the same night. And it was just kind of like, I guess more like kind of like just a quick subconscious kind of writing thing or whatever, like where it just kind of knocked it out in a few hours, or, you know. Same with it's in that song, Their Name Sticks Out, like the most popular song I had, or it was just like I just did it in an afternoon and like or like in a couple hours, and and it's interesting how sometimes those songs work really, you know, just kind of feel the best, but I have a few songs where it's like, you know, spent months on, you know, for sure on trying, and that's where I'm kind of right now, is like I have a lot of songs right now that are just like I've been just trying to take my time, and it's like trying to learn how to become a better editor. Like I feel like that's such a hard skill to have. Just like even like I'm watching a lot of interviews with like just people that edit, like if it's like screenplays or whatever, you know, just like being able to edit yourself is so difficult. And
I feel like editing yourself it's hard because it's hard to try and be critical of yourself and then also try and cut things out or add something in, you know. I think editing is like the hardest part of like any creative process.
I know. I was working on a song the other day, and I just ended up writing a whole new song. I was like, I'm editing, and it just became a new song at the end of the day. It's like not like defeating yourself and just like turning into completely something new, but making something better. It's like, yeah, that's what's been helpful. Like having like someone else in the room when you listen to it or something, I think helps with that. But yeah, I don't know. And then also, I think it's also like learning to trust yourself and just keep moving forward too. And but yeah, I don't know. That's definitely something I'm like right in the middle of. Like I have a bunch of these songs. I'm just trying to figure out when they're done, kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes me think of like movies and then like seeing the director's cut sometimes. And I feel like sometimes when I watch director's cuts, I'm like, okay, I can see why they edited out a lot of this stuff because I feel like, directors are like, this is my baby and like these are the things that I wanted to keep in, but like we didn't have time for that. And sometimes having other eyes on it like helps you streamline everything.
Yeah, I know. Or sometimes it's hard too. Like when you're like, I feel like some songs will have like it's like a lot of good ideas, but then it's like not like you're not able to like put yourself as a listener, like hearing it for the first time, where it's like it feels good listening to, or like you know what I mean. There's that kind of like it just resolves in a good way, or like where you're instead of just like here's a bunch of ideas, but like putting it into a cohesive kind of thing, or something that like where sections resolve into others and repeat and feels like a real through line narrative or something that I don't know, but something I've been trying to work on more.
Yeah. And then like with the snippets that you post on TikTok, do you think that helps you finish songs faster or like?
I think it really does. Yeah. Like I kind of like, cause that's like the hard thing when you're like a songwriting or whatever. It's like when you have deadlines or like, you're like, let me see. I'm okay. I'm going to finish the song. It's like, I'm kind of just use it more of a reason to, just like, I'm like post stuff online or like social media. It's like, it's not like, doesn't feel like you're making content or something. You're just like, this is the stuff I would be doing anyways. And it kind of gives you a reason to finish that song and I think it's been really helpful. There's like some of the songs, like the kids driving the elevator and stuff, like those were like ones I posted on social media or like on TikTok or something. And then it was like, oh, people were liked it and kind of gave me a reason to keep moving forward with it or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely haven't as much lately, but I don't know. I do think it does help though with just like generating ideas and finishing, like having something to show. It's like it's almost being like in school or whatever, like having a presentation the next day or something, or like definitely can be helpful. I think for sure.
And previously you were talking about how you used to create a lot of like electronic music in Ableton. So, and then in an interview you said to help work on rhythm and like use it as a tool. Do you think that kind of helps you now? It's like the music you're creating now.
I think so. Yeah. I remember when I was at Cal Arts, we were doing a lot of like modern jazz where there's a lot of like odd time signature rhythm stuff. And just one teacher in particular, his name was Steve Lehman. And like he would do a lot of just like rhythm stuff that was just really challenging and kind of would almost need to like create like backing tracks for yourself. And it just kind of like just using those like, I don't know, kind of those tools of odd meter rhythms and stuff and just becoming more familiar with them. And that's what I was like kind of creating little like electronic pop songs or whatever with these odd meters or just as like kind of a way to become more familiar with that material. But yeah, I hope a lot of that stuff I'm like, those are like, there's a bunch of songs that I have, but they're just like, I want to go through them and rewrite the lyrics. They're not very good. And like, and I want to finish it at some point. But yeah, it was also too, when I was playing a lot with my friend's band, Old High Biscuits, where they would do a lot of odd meter stuff and it's kind of influenced by that band Palm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like yeah. I thought it wasn't math rock, but it was like just like using rhythm as like as just a compositional tool, I guess, or something.
So the music that you have on Spotify and camp are like listed like much differently. Is there like a reason for that, or
Not really. Just like the track listing, or just like the material, or
yeah, just like the uploads and things like that?
I guess it's just like, I don't know. It's funny. It's like when you put stuff on like Spotify, it just feels so much more permanent, I guess. Versus like Bandcamp. I don't know. It's just like usually just throwing stuff up there first on Bandcamp, and usually it's like and like a lot of times putting stuff on Bandcamp is more to just like send something to my friend, or something, and I just publicly do it.
Yeah.
Which I'm like thinking more about like, oh, maybe I should be more careful about doing that, but I don't know. But yeah, it's just mostly just because I first put it on Bandcamp, and then I think about it, and then like, oh, this would be a better way to do it, or or sometimes I just like forget to check and make sure that it's the same. But yeah.
And then like on Bandcamp, a lot of like the album covers are like hand drawn. Did you draw all of them, or?
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are like the one on the kids driving the elevator. That was one I did. I think I was like eight or nine.
Oh, that's
Like, yeah, there's like I was with my dad, and we were like going through. He has a bunch of like old childhood drawings I did, so I took photos of a bunch of them. And same with the count the sheep. There's like one like a bunch of like drawings I would do during class, like little doodles that I work on my papers, and like I basically just cut them up and put them in Photoshop and kind of piece together a little cover that way. But yeah.
that's cool. Like a little callback to your.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so today's episode is kind of different because we are going through two playlists. So for the first one, these are just like guitar players that you love in a playlist. Do you want to like go through some of the artists in it?
Yeah. On the guitar. Well, I definitely, I always do think of myself as a guitar player. And that's what I went to, played jazz and since middle school. And that's always been, I think, the biggest inspiration as far as songwriting goes or whatever. It's just always been the guitar and everything. And but what I love about guitar is that there's like no right way to play it, and there's just so much unique voices on the instrument. And like guitar is interesting. It's such a tactile instrument, and like yeah, I don't know. It's just there's something where it's like it's also very easy to travel with, and like I was just thinking about like just where guitar and like all these different places, like on the playlist, there's like everything from music from here in the States to Brazil to Africa or whatever. Just it's all over, and just so many different kinds of music and played in so many different ways. And but yeah, I felt like this first one is Eddie Lang, and a song called April Kisses, probably like his kind of like most famous, kind of his signature, one of his signature tunes. But he's an Italian American. He's I think he was born like early 20th century, and
October 25th, 1902.
Yeah. He was interesting where it's like these like jazz guitar players that are like pre-bebop era, like so like bebop would be from like the 50s or 40s 50s, like before Charlie Parker. And it's where there's like still playing acoustic instruments, this is like pre-electric guitar.
Yeah.
And it's very like you could hear like the classical influence too, and it's like being pre-bebop, it's like it's like very virtuosic playing, but it's doesn't like have the bebop kind of swing that like Charlie Christian was like one of the first jazz bebop guitar players, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, Eddie Lang, he also died really young.
No, yeah,
Um,
I was looking because I was looking into some of the artists. Like his death was kind of crazy, like out
yeah,
of the blue. Like he died at 30.
I think he was 20s.
I don't know.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, but like he went in for like a tonsillectomy.
Right.
Just never woke up from the surgery.
Super tragic. Yeah. And I think, you know, sometimes people will call him like, I think the godfather of jazz guitar or something like that, or one of these things, you know, one of these titles, but like, he's definitely huge. You know, he's like before Django Reinhardt, who was also an early, like gypsy jazz from France. But yeah, I don't know. Eddie Lang, he was like, you know, he's also like on TV shows and like stuff. Like he was like, you know, he was doing a lot, and definitely amazing player, and his facility on the instrument is really, really amazing. And I don't know, I became kind of like, you got really into that free bebop jazz guitar.
Mhm.
And yeah, and lately, and like I've been really into playing acoustic guitar too, and
Mhm.
something kind of interesting when it's just like, because with the electric guitar, it's really about, it's not just the guitar and then you have the amp. It's like kind of like how the guitar reacts with the amp, you know.
Mhm.
And I remember I was like watching this interview with this guitar player, who's, Julian Lage, talking about the same thing about how you connect the guitar to the amp and how they work together instead of thinking them like two separate things, you know.
Mhm.
But when you have just an acoustic instrument, it's just all about like how you hold the instrument, where you play it. It's all like so just you and the, you know, acoustic instrument. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think Eddie Lang, he's definitely amazing, and I've learned that song before. And super really hard to play.
Yeah.
But yeah. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, the next one is I love Luis Bonfa.
Mhm.
I love this album. Um, Introspection, Enchanted Minor. This one's from, I think it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
He's an amazing Brazilian guitar player.
Song is really beautiful.
Yeah,
Listen to it.
yeah, it's super, and it's interesting. I don't think he's playing a nylon string on this one because usually, um, they'll play like more of like a classical nylon string a lot, especially with Brazilian. This one doesn't sound it, and it's interesting how there's like also some effect pedals. It sounds like a little bit, which is kind of crazy, and um, yeah, this one like it definitely gave me like almost like you kind of hear like some of the influence like people like bands like Grizzly Bear or like Daniel Rosman or like kind of like some of the guitar playing or just like it's just so pretty sounding. And
Mhm.
I don't know, when I first heard this one I was just like kind of freaked out. I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has like so many great records, and um there's a lot of good YouTube videos too of him playing, and just kind of one of the most amazing Brazilian guitar players. Um and and then should I move on to the next one?
Yeah. Go for it.
The next two are both kind of like are both from like Africa, and they're like more African high life guitar playing, which are these bands from the 70s. Which I had a friend show me this in school about this, like it's called high life guitar playing. It's like um, it's some of my favorite guitar playing ever. It's like very melodic. A lot of times it's very like interlocking parts. They'll have like sometimes like three guitar players in the bands, or and they're like called like guitar pop bands. And I guess like it started around, it's like when the electric guitars like came to Africa, I think around like the 50s or 60s. And then this is like now from in the 70s where it's like it's it's very like where with like African music where it was like a lot of these like interlocking rhythmic parts and stuff when you hear in drum music, but now like in this high life guitar playing, you hear the same thing, but now with guitars where they have like melodic, like you have like someone that's playing this really high part on the guitar, and then you have like, so if there's like three guitar players, like how they all communicate together, and it's all like parts that complement each other, and it's so amazing, and it's like so rhythmically just interesting, and it's not funk based, which is cool. Like it was kind of interesting to hear something that's not like American funk or something but it's still like super grooving, and like became really obsessed on trying to find like music that really grooves but doesn't have like a backbeat, like that's like coming more from like James Brown or something. And like a lot of this like Afro high life, like high life guitar playing, and then just like, I don't know, it's just amazing. But both of these ones, the Peacock Guitar Band and also the Hallelujah Chicken Run Band, is also an amazing one. Just some of the most just crazy guitar playing, very melodic. It almost kind of reminds you of like Smiths or something, like Johnny Marr. Like I know he talks about not knowing it, like because people make that comparison, but it definitely has that very like major key melodic sense, like riff and stuff. But yeah, both of those songs are amazing. And then the next one is Victor Harva, I think is how you say it. This is like a Chilean folk music, and a lot of his songs are really like protest songs, and
he lived like a really interesting life.
Yeah, very important figure.
Yeah.
And also just an amazing songwriter, guitar player. Very, very important in the protest, and just kind of had a really big influence on how his music translated to people in Chile. And
because he was like a political activist and like a communist, and he is so multifaceted, like a poet, a director, a teacher, like all of this other stuff.
Yeah, I know. Just amazing. And but just even this song alone, guitar playing is so cool, and the chord changes and melody, just found it really inspiring.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, and I also that a lot of that Chilean folk music is just amazing too. And I don't know, that's something I was like trying to like study more on, just like where they have just the use of rhythm and stuff, and they use a lot of like, I could kind of see a connection between that and African like high life guitar playing a little bit, like where they're used a lot of like in like they're in like the use a lot of the time signature of like 3, like they're in like and all this I don't know, just kind of starting to see that connection between all those people and Brazilian music and stuff.
Yeah. What like draws you into like the guitar of a song, like of a certain song, like what really is like something that like will draw you into a certain song?
So it's, I don't know if there's a specific thing. I think it just feels good, and it just like I don't know, it's like, I don't know, it's like, it's interesting where the guitar playing just fits in the song well, and it's like it doesn't poke out, and it doesn't like call to your attention in like a distracting way, and it's just, but it's also very inventive and unique, and I don't know, that's what's really, it's very tricky and hard to describe, because but I don't know, it's there's just something to it, it's like listening to Jimi Hendrix or something, where it's like it's still songs and everything, but the guitar, it almost becomes like another person in the song.
Yeah.
Another character or something, and another person in the room with just your, if you're singing, but then also the guitar's there too, and just as important. I don't know, just sometimes feels like another perspective in the song,
Yeah.
or something. And but yeah, I don't know.
You want
Um,
to pick one of your favorites out of this playlist um, to do a deeper dive into
yeah,
in order.
what's which one's really it's this one it's skating in Central Park with Bill Evans and Jim Hall.
Mhm.
This is like one of my favorite records, Undercurrent. Jim Hall is like one of the most amazing jazz guitar players, and um, definitely had brought in a unique voice on the instrument.
Mhm.
That is definitely, he has this, like, it's almost like you have like these guitar players where it's like almost like this, they have their own school of like people that have come from them. Like you have like Charlie Christian, then Wes Montgomery, and then you have like Jim Hall and it's like Pat Metheny and Julian Lajere. Just like these people that are just like so bring their personality and such a strong voice to the instrument, and they're and Jim Hall is just like one of those people where it's just like he plays in a way where he's like has nothing to prove, and it's just like just makes really interesting music choices, and just I don't know, and I think anyone it's like just really easy to connect with this playing, and just from a listener, I think anyone, especially this one, it's just like this album where it's just him and Bill Evans, just a duo album, and you can really hear just the way he thinks about it. It just feels like he's just trying to make good music. Like it's not like just all about like in the moment how fast I kind of play guitar, like the most. It's like just like almost like thinking of like a composition or something, or and the way he interacts with Bill and like supports him, and like the guitar and the piano, and how they can, sometimes people will talk about how they are like kind of can be at odds with each other a little bit just because they're both kind of function as a similar instrument, as accompaniment or like chords. But this is like such a good example of how they can really work together, and just the way that they have such a strong sense of rhythm together and developing their ideas together. And yeah, it's cool when you hear someone that's like someone like Jim where they make other people sound better. It's like it's kind of I've had that with a few other teachers before where it's just like people that listen to you more than you're like listening to yourself or something. It's like sometimes it's almost kind of scary. You're like, oh wow, that teacher's like listening to me more than I'm like, they really are listening and caring what you're doing. And it's like really being seen like that. And they'll make you sound better with their choices that they're making. Cause like I've had that. I'm like, why didn't I not? And then I'll go home and I'll play and I'm like, why don't I sound as good? And I'm like, oh, my teacher was making me sound better. Like
That's cool how like they can bounce off each other and like just elevate each other in that way.
Yeah. Such like a deep, it's like really like just caring for the other person in a way, you know what I mean? It's like, and I don't know. I think that just comes with like a maturity, and I think just some people have that, like, and
It's about what's going to make the arrangement sound the best, not about like standing out yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, just it really is their like feels like their personalities, and there definitely is parts where they're like, where you can hear them like making strong choices and like, and but yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of mind blowing listening to. Yeah, it's just been definitely a big inspiration just going back to that album that I've heard for a long time. And it's also one of those albums where you can like literally just like listen to driving around, and like it's still like it's a good album too. It's not just like sometimes with like instrumental music, it's just like, oh, this is like this is interesting because I am a guitar player. Yeah, I think it's also like a good album, just and which is sometimes hard to get with instrumental music sometimes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always keep going back to this one.
Yeah. Do you want to go over any other songs, or do you want to go on to the next place?
I think that's probably good. You know, there's only, you know, yeah, there's just so many amazing guitar players, but that's probably a good, you know,
Good
place to start.
intro.
What's that?
Is it a good intro?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. You just could keep going. You know, that's it. And the cool thing is, like, you can really find those connections of, like, you know, like, so, like Brazilian guitar playing and African guitar playing, where it's like they're so connected. You know, it's like, and same with, you know, even classical guitar. You know, we didn't talk about, like, flamenco guitars is also probably the most insane guitar playing. And but yeah, I don't know. I think the older I get, the more it's also, you're like, I feel like in high school I was like, had such the jazz blinders on, you know, like, just like, that's like kind of all I listened to. And but now, like, the older you get, it's like, it's just like kind of like, you know, you have like less to prove or whatever, or you're just like, just kind of like, oh wow, that's so cool, or like, you know, or you hear like a guitar player where it's like, oh, they're just like making noise or whatever, like, that's so cool, or like, you know, just new perspectives on the instrument or whatever, you know.
Yeah, and there's like so much to explore and so many different interpretations of how to play guitar.
Yeah, totally. And then there's, yeah, and then guitar players that also write songs, and that, the connection of that, and you know, and you know, it's, I've been kind of like going into finding guitar, like, songwriters that are also really big guitar players, like, you know, people like Chris Wiseman in this one. These people that also study jazz and also like to write songs, or, you know, people like Elliott Smith that did classical music and also write songs, or Blake Mills, or, yeah, all these like heavy guitar players, but then they also like to write songs, or, you know, but
Yeah, and so the second playlist that you have for us is like album number 2, Inspo. So you started this playlist back in October of last year. So what is like the criteria for what goes into like the inspiration playlist? Like, what are you looking for when you like add those songs in?
You know, it's some of them are like songs that I just love to listen to.
Mhm.
And then some of them are just like they're almost like, almost, I'll think of it almost like when I go on like Pinterest or something, and like creating like just like cool images or just things for inspiration. They're like, oh, that's just a cool sound, or like, whoa, that's the way they started that song is so cool, or like, sometimes it could just be like, not even almost about it's like not just always just songs I would listen to all the time, but things that's just like, oh, that's really just crazy and inspiring, you know, like almost like a mood board almost too.
Yeah.
But then there's like songs like Grizzly Bear and stuff, like, where bands where I feel like a little bit more similar to the kind of music I like to make right now, and where it's like they also studied jazz as kids, but then also like to write songs, and always found them inspiring, just as far as people that could like maybe relate more to, just from and just stuff that I'm making now. But then there's also stuff that in there's like, I'm the kind of music I'm not making or whatever, like Sophie or something, like, or just like more like hyper pop or something, like stuff that's just like, oh, that's so cool, and just admiring it, you know. And
you think,
even though maybe it doesn't get reflected in the music I actually make right now, but
do you think there's like, you were talking about Sophie, like any like way you could like see yourself incorporating that into what you're making?
I actually I have made a few. I remember someone gave me like a sample pack of Sophie, like of like some of the drum sounds and stuff. I have made a song before, with that, and that was super fun. Maybe I want to finish it at some point, but
Yeah.
I also like I would be cool. I don't know how to. I have no idea how that music's made. So just mysterious and interesting, and
Mhm.
but I'd love to just learn more, just to get like the just the idea of like just sound and like just the craft of the sound.
Yeah.
And
I see you added like I don't know how to say their name, Mally Velasquez in here. Um, I'm obsessed with them currently. The song Bobby, you added that into this playlist.
oh yeah, they're so amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, like the first four singles that they put out, I was like listening to them on repeat, and they just put out their album like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I know. Yeah, I'm such a fan. That song Bobby I was listening to, there was like the week it came out, I was like listening to it all week, and
Mhm,
yeah, I was like messaged with them a few times on Instagram,
mhm.
and so they think they live over in Nashville, and I don't know, just like there's a lot of cool people over there, and um, yeah, I don't know, I'm just such a fan, and songwriting's so good, and um, yeah, and the production and the song is just been a big fan of that song.
Mhm.
And just the album too. I just listened to the album probably like a couple weeks ago, and I messaged them like I just such a fan, and yeah, it's super cool and really nice.
Mhm. And then obviously there's some like Alex G in here.
Yeah. Um, it's kind of funny with my own, like I was kind of late to the Alex G. Elliott Smith like
No, same.
thing.
I literally okay. So I like when Alex G was like, what was it? It was like Sandy Alex G. I was listening, and then I fell off after that, and I
Yeah,
just came back now and
yeah,
got back into Alex G. But
yeah. I remember someone played me Elliott Smith like in 10th grade, and then I just didn't get it. I was just like so obsessed with jazz, and then same within college, like mostly just listening to a lot of jazz, and then like the past few years, and then I just like started songwriting. Then people are like, "Oh, you should listen to Elliott Smith or like Alex G or something." Then so it's like only like the past couple of years I started listening to them.
mhm. I
But just like
started
what's
listening
that?
to Elliott Smith too.
Yeah, and I just think it just kind of it's like really just resonated with the stuff I was trying to make, with just a lot of chords and the
Mhm.
and and like I'm very really pretty new to singing, and just like kind of gave you the permission to like, oh, you could sing even if you're not like this really trained singer or whatever, and but yeah, I always found how like adventurous they were with their harmony and the chords, and um yeah, I don't know, there's definitely been big inspiration. Just like, what can I do with just voicing an acoustic guitar,
Mhm.
kind of helped just like kind of just give yourself some direction, or just like limit yourself to just like a couple tools or whatever. Like the music I've been making now has been a little bit more just like, okay, what can I do with just voice and my acoustic guitar? That's
Yeah.
kind of what we need to start.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you said that you're just getting into Alex G because I think on like Reddit there was like artists that are similar to Alex G and people
Yeah.
put your name in there too. Mhm.
Yeah. It's been really cool and amazing. Like, where I think what happened, I had that couple songs where they got in like the um recommended, like after someone is done listening to an artist, like they'll get like a radio or something on like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and then a couple of my songs will get in that, where it was like they're listening, I think it was Alex G or Duster was one of them,
Mhm.
and like some of my songs would get played, and that's where a lot of people were hearing my music,
Mhm.
and it's because it was getting lumped in with them, like the similar artists and stuff, and just really cool how people were kind of discovering my music or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what are some other songs in this like album number 2 inspo that you like? Uh-huh.
I definitely, a Mid-Air Thief. I think that was when I first heard that record, Crumbling. That was such an awesome record. That one's number 7. just the textures on that one is just amazing. Just the blend of like electronic instruments and acoustic instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they're just it's just so well, and there's just like so much care into every sound. It feels like, it's also kind of just a really interesting blend of like this kind of like almost home recording kind of sound of like maybe tape or something, I don't know, but then also blend with these like very like electronic processed and just the compositions themselves and just the adventureness of it, of like where they take the music and the songs, and that was just like just really cool, and just very just a lot of cool choices being made and going for it. Yeah, that was definitely a big record, and I love just listening to that album like all the way through. That's definitely like I'm really just I think they're not just like little pop song, they're like they have a real they really take you different places, but same just with like it does still have that very like intimate handmade kind of feel to it still, and just a really interesting balance having the two of like this. You can definitely tell it was a lot of hours put into just the amount of layers in that, but it still does feel intimate in a way, which is kind of a interesting balance to keep. It's something I really like enjoys when it can still have that very like intimate kind of sound, but then you have this very this big production kind of sound to it in a way, where you can have these crazy synthesizers or whatever and stuff in it, but then it also still sounds like they're right in front of you or you're in the room with them. But yeah, that was a really big album. I think then the other album I really spent a lot of time listening to was like Yellow House by Grizzly Bear. That also, just for like my own music, like during the lockdown, I was like going through so much different kinds of music, like listening. I'd go on like rateyourmusic.com and like to type in like like it's like, okay, I'd like in the search part like type in like just like a letter like Y or something, or like and it'll just give you all these crazy subcategories or whatever of like everything. And you're just like, I want to know everything of like different kind of metal music or whatever, Persian pop music or something. But so I was listening to all different kinds of music all the time, like a new album every day. But then I was also like, I want to listen to a few albums, the same album for like a month or something, or like just get really deep into. And I did that with like the Yellow House from Grizzly Bear. I'm just like listening to that one for like a month straight or two. And just so like, what's that?
What's your favorite off of that one?
I don't know. That's a hard one. Maybe Little Brothers might be one, or they're all really great. And I think I just like spent a lot of time just like listening to how it's kind of put together, or like kind of like listening to it for like, okay, what is the drums doing? What is all the textures, and like trying to listen to it differently every time, or like notice a new detail, or like, well, it's interesting how these guitars are doubled here, or these like little things after listening to it so many times, start to hear these like kind of like how it's kind of constructed in a way.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just for even just like learning, like kind of like studying it in a way. And I did the same thing with the Mid-Air Thief album. I'm just like really thinking about how it's being put together in a sonic way or form.
How do you think that is going to influence how you set up your album, your next album?
I think it just helps like also just like becoming familiar with your like headphones that you use like while you're listening, and just like thinking about just the placement of things in the mix, or like how things feel, or like it's not so much like a okay, the drum is doing this beat and then the bass is doing that. It's not so like detailed like that, like of like specific musical things, but more like in like a sonic way of like just the of how it feels or how much clarity or how much just the how you're telling the story of it just like sonically.
Yeah.
And because usually like when I would break down a song, I think about it like just what are the chords, what are the melodies, and like, but now just thinking about it more like in a like a volume or like a textures or like what do these drums feel like, the sound of it, like how do these drums like almost more like an emotional like connection to it and just the sound of it than the chords or technical way of breaking it down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't, when I make my own music, I don't really think about it like, oh, well, this song is doing this, so I should try to doing this. Like, I don't think of it like ever like that. Like, but I think it just, you kind of develop, it's like playing jazz or something, like when you're like, you practice your scales for so much that you don't, then once when you go to improvise, you don't have to think about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like playing, it's like I think there's that Charlie Parker quote where you just know it so well you don't have to think about it. And I think that's kind of what happens. It's like you're just so familiar with the material or just like thinking about those ideas. But then when you go to actually make music yourself, you're just kind of like have those ideas floating in your head and your subconscious, and it just kind of comes through it naturally just from always doing the work all the time. And but it's not so, I don't ever like sit down and like, okay, now I'm going to do it like this, how this song does it. And unless if I get like maybe stumped, sometimes like you hit a roadblock or something, and you're like, well, how did this person get out, like finish this idea, or like just for inspiration, like how should I end this song, or how do I get a transition between these two different sections, or maybe something like that. But it's a little more rare to do it like that. But
and then compared to your first album, how would you say working on this next album differs?
well, the first one, like I really just threw it up there. Like I didn't really expect anyone to hear it in a way, and all the songs are really short, like, and that was like, it just because I was just like random little just ideas or whatever, I'd make in the night or whatever. And so that's why a lot of them are pretty short. And but this one I'm definitely like just taking more of my time and like just trying to like craft the songs a little bit more and like edit it more, and definitely more I guess thought, or I don't know, just more just trying to spend more time becoming more familiar with the songs too. And instead of just like finishing it and then just throwing it up there, but kind of thinking about the songs a little bit more and living with them a little bit more,
Yeah.
But,
and do you have a timeline of when you think the next album will be ready?
Yeah, I'm hoping to finish it like in the next couple of months and put it out next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully before the spring. But yeah, I'm just right now just kind of like going through it. Like I just like wrote so many songs. There's over 30 songs that are like recorded right now. And
how do you think you're going to go about choosing which one's going to make it?
I really don't know. A lot of it's just been I've been sending stuff to friends and just getting their thoughts. And it's funny. It's like I'm trying not to go like it's like hard when you work on something for a while, where it's like it's easy to start like wanting to get rid of all the older stuff that you did. You're like, oh, I don't relate to, or like you just like kind of throw it out, or like, oh, I'm just gonna work on the next thing. But like trying to really finish something, and or like some of those older ideas, and like, okay, kind of like it just like kind of just being okay with it being a kind of, that was you a year ago or whatever when you wrote it, or but I don't, it's hard to figure out what to do with it all and when to finish stuff. And it's definitely what I'm like kind of wrestling with right now, because there is like large material, a bunch of it. And so I'm just trying to finish it all as quick as I can. And but yeah, I'm usually just like kind of like just working on a bunch all at once kind of thing. And but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to do, but I do want to like do like a really solid album, I think, instead of like just doing like these EPs, but like really try to like spend some time and really do a solid statement kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Sounds cool. Is there anything that you want to plug as we come to the end of the episode? Is there?
No, I don't know. I think just this album, and hopefully I'll do a show out in New York and be really fun. I've been talking to some friends about trying to do like a little album release show out there or something. Would be neat. And no, yeah, I think just like could be just kind of that new music coming out, and then if we do a little bit of playing around and do some shows and stuff. But yeah. Kind of,
awesome. Well, yeah, thanks again for doing this.
of course, thanks for asking.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the last episode of the year, and had a lot of great guests on this year and have a lot of exciting things coming in 2024. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but we'll be back and better than ever in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Yeah, thanks as always, and links will be in the description as always.